All right, beginner version of White Christmas. You only need to know 7 chords for this one. I'll go over them with you real quick. And if you need to learn any of these, just pull up the Open Chords series here on the site, and you can learn most of those there. And you might need to go through bar chords of 1, 2. So open C major, start things out with. Then you need an A minor, a D minor, then a G. Then we get into some bar chords. You need an F major. You can do full bar chord, you can do partial bar chord. Then you need an F minor also. You can do partial bar chord or full bar chord. And the other chord you're going to need is a C7. If you don't know C7, all you have to do is make a regular C chord, and then come down with your pinky on the 3rd fret of that G string right there. So just leave that in place, come down with your pinky. It's kind of already there anyway, so that's great. All right, now that you know what chords are being used, I just want to go through 2 basic strumming patterns with you. You can use just straight quarter notes like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's totally fine. If that's all you can do, that's cool. Even if you can just do whole notes, that's fine. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. All downstrokes. 1, 2, 3, 4. The second option for your strumming pattern is just going to be a 1, 2, and 3, 4, and kind of a swung 8th note pattern. So you're going to have a quarter note on 1, 1, and then you're going to have 2 and, but it's swung instead of being 1, 2, and 3, 4. And you're going to swing it so it feels like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and 3, 4. So either one is fine, quarter notes or that swung 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, is fine. Whichever one you want to do, perfectly cool. And the cool thing about the song is most every chord gets a full measure of strumming, so it's pretty easy to keep track of where you are. Let's go through the first 4 measures. It's just a C major for 1 measure, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then an A minor, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then a D minor, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then G major for 1 measure or 4 counts. And I would really encourage you to just take this in 4 measured chunks to get the chord progressions down and make sure you can put the strumming with it. So those first 4 measures, I'm going to put that second little swung strumming pattern with this. Here we go: 1, 2, and 3, and 4. And the next 4 measures start off on an F major, and do that for just 1 measure. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then back to a G major for 1 measure. Then a C major for 1 measure. And this 8th measure of the tune, you have a quick change. So each of these 2 chords in measure 8 only get 2 beats, and it's a D minor, 1, 2, and then a G major, 3, 4. So let me play those 4 bars for you. 1, 2, 3, 4. See how that changes quick? If you did it with just quarter notes, it'd be. All right, let's go on to the next 4 measures. And I should mention this, by the way, I have tabs or chord charts for you for both versions of this song, the beginner and the intermediate. So the next measure, measure 9, starts on a C major for 1 measure. Then a C7 for 1 measure. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then an F major for 1 measure. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then an F minor for 1 measure. And then you go into a C major for the next measure. Then you have an A minor for 1 measure, then a D minor, and then a G major. And those last 4 bars of the A section should feel really familiar too. They're the exact same as the first 4 bars. So first 4 bars, same as the last 4 bars of the A section. And there are only 2 sections to the song, an A section and a B section. And we just covered the A section. Let me play that whole thing for you. Now the B section is exactly the same as the A section until you get to the last 4 measures. It uses the same chords, but we kind of go double time on it. So we're going to play a C, A minor, D minor, G, just like we did for the last 4 bars of the A section, but we're only giving each chord 2 beats, and we're going to play that progression twice. So when you get to the last 4 bars of the B section, you're going to play C for 2 beats, 1, 2, A for 2 beats, 3, 4, D minor for 2 beats, 1, 2, then G major for 2 beats. And then do the exact same thing again for the last 2 measures. C, A minor, D minor, G major. So take this one little section at a time, 4 measures at a time, and then give it a go with the track, the play along track. I'll let you hear what that sounds like. 1, 2, 3, 4. So the hardest part of this song is probably the quick turnaround, the 6-2-5-1 on the A minor, D, G, or the C, A minor, D, G. So I would really isolate those changes because they come pretty quick. C, A minor, D, G. And you can even do half notes there. That'll make it easier for you too. C, A minor, D, G. If you can play that part, the rest of the song is going to be pretty easy. So incorporate this into your practice time. If you have to learn some new chords to make it happen, that's great. Video yourself, put it up on YouTube or in the forums, and I will see you there. Bye. All right, the intermediate version of White Christmas, and I'm keeping this pretty generic, just giving you some chords that I would use in here, 7th chords, and some very basic strumming. I'm only using a quarter note strumming pattern the entire time, so 1, 2, 3, 4. So there are 10 chords that you need to be able to play, at least for the version that I'm doing here. The first one is a C major 7, and all the chord diagrams are in the tab or in the sheet music chord chart for you. C major 7, that version. Then I'm playing an A minor 7, a D minor 7, and there's a part, we'll get to it. I'm playing this version of a G7 chord, but you can play this one too, if you know that one. It's just the E-shaped G7, this one, or this one. And there's an F sharp 7 that I'm using as well. Same shape. Then you need an F major 7. So I'm using this one. You can use this, it's up to you. Then there's a C7 in here as well. So I'm using this one. I'm also using an F minor 7, that version. Of course you can use just regular F minor like that if you want to. I'm also using this C major 7, just at some points, kind of when I feel like it, but I'm also using a C6 over G. And that's pretty much it as far as the chords for this one goes. So if there are some new things in there that you need to really witch at and learn, that's great. You're building your chord vocabulary. Now let's just walk through the song. Remember, I'm only using straight quarter notes for the strumming pattern, but I am kind of choking or muting after each quarter note strum. So when I play it, I let off the strings with my left hand, my fretting hand, and kind of mute it with my right hand too. So if you need to work on that strumming pattern first with just one chord, I'd really recommend doing that so you can get that kind of, instead of just letting it ring out. All All right, let's go ahead and go through this. Most of the chords in the song get one full measure, so it's pretty easy to keep track of, and there's just a couple of tricky bits that you need to work on. So starts off on a C major 7 chord, so one measure of that, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you have an A minor 7 for one measure, D minor 7 for one measure, and this is where it gets a little bit tricky. I'm going to give you like a simple version and a little more jazzed up version. It starts off on an F sharp 7 chord and then slides up to a G7 chord. And you can either do that on quarter notes, 1, 2, 3, and then on 4 go back down to the F sharp 7. Or you can swing it a little bit like this. So you can either go, I'll start from the beginning of it so you can hear it in context. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the straightforward version, or you can do a little bit more swung, jazzy version. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that leads us into the next 4 measures. The first chord for the next 4 measures is an F major 7, just a whole measure of that. 1, 2, 3, 4, and back to a G7. You can use that one, or you can just stay here. 2, 3, 4, G7. Okay, and then you have a C major 7. And for the little turnaround for this end of this 8th bar, you have 2 measures of D minor. Sorry, 2 beats of D minor. 1, 2, and then 2 beats of G7. So let me play those first 8 measures for you. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, next 4 measures, you have a C major 7 for one measure. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then a C7, just take your middle finger off. 1, 2, 3, 4, one measure. Then an F major 7 for one measure. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I like to throw this in here. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then switch to F minor 7. 1, 2, 3, 4 for one measure. So those 4 bars, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And the last 4 bars of this A section, there are only 2 sections by the way, A section or B section. The last 4 bars are the exact same as the first 4 bars, so it's just a 1, 6, 2, 5. Key of C, each chord gets one measure. 1, 2, 3, 4, A minor, D minor 7, G7. Just the exact same as the first 4 bars. So let me play the whole A section for you for this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that's it for the A section. The B section is exactly the same, except for a couple of voicings, and until you get to the end, the last 4 bars double up on the time. So instead of each chord getting a full measure, they only get 2 beats. So when you get to measures, last 4 measures of the B section, instead of having this 1, 6, 2, 5 in the key of C, where each chord gets 1 measure, they're only going to get 2 beats. So you have a C major, A minor, D minor, G7, then do it again. Then you go back to the beginning of the song. The only other thing that's different about the B section is the way I kind of threw in a little bit of a different chord voicing and a C6 chord to make it a little more interesting. So let me start on the first part of the B section and I'll show you where the difference comes in. So you have C major 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, A minor 7, D minor 7, F major 7, And right here, instead of going back to this C major 7, I go to this C major 7. 1, 2, and then just for 2 beats, and then I go to this C6. And that's one of my favorite kind of jazzy changes. And then you have just a 2-5 to finish off that little phrase. That's the only difference with the B section, that and the last 4 bars. Let me play this entire thing along to the jam track for you. If you're listening to the jam track, I have played this on electric, but I'm gonna play it on acoustic here just to make things simple. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's really it for this song. The toughest part for most people is probably going to be either learning new voicings for these chords if you don't know them, or the quick 1, 6, 2, 5 at the end. So, but an easy way to play that where you don't have to move your hand at all is to just play this version of a C major 7. And just work on that change over and over again. A minor, D minor 7. See you later.